the wave of reactions to the Senate looking like it wants to set a record for how quickly it can approve loan requests from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with the new $6 billion loan request getting the green light from the National Assembly just hours after the president sent the request on Tuesday. Now, in two letters addressed to the Senate, President Govt, President Tinubu wanted approval for a $1 billion loan from Citibank in London to refresh the Apapa and Tin Can Island ports. Now, if this sounds familiar, it's the same deal that was unveiled during the president's state visit to the UK. The second request of $5 billion is for Abu Dhabi Bank to finance the budget deficit and meet current debt obligations. Now, in plain English, that basically means we're asking for this loan to pay off debts that we already have. Here's the Senate President reading the request. Let's take a look.
I wish to request the Senate to, 1, consider and approve the indicative terms and conditions of the loan proposal of up to $5 billion from the First Abu Dhabi Bank.
Now, I'll take some quick reactions because, of course, everyone always goes to X, to Twitter, to post how they feel about this. Concept wrote, as a concerned Nigerian, the most telling detail isn't the loan, it's the 3.5-hour turnaround. A $6 billion decision affecting 220 million and a nation already drowning in debt was read, reviewed, and rubber-stamped in a single afternoon. That tells you everything about Nigeria's legislative oversight. The Senate isn't a check on executive power, it's a processing and payments counter. Then we have Ambrose, who said, this is pure madness. Another loan approved in just 3.5 hours. This borrow government has turned Nigeria into a debt slave, yet there's not a single visible use of all these trillions. Where are the refineries working at full capacity? Where's the stable power plants lighting up homes instead of this endless darkness and generator racket? Roads are still death traps, hospitals lack drugs, schools are collapsing, and insecurity is worse than ever. Inflation is choking us, Naira's in free fall, yet debt servicing alone gulped $5 billion in 2025. This is money that could have built real infrastructure or fed the hungry masses. I'll go to the next tweet now, who said, Izuchukwu kept it brief, and they basically said, even if I do not understand how loans work, but then, how do you borrow to pay for borrowed money? And Vimbai, I'll come to you on this first story, and that last tweet really summed it up well, because even if people don't understand the nitty-gritty of budgets, deficits, it's obvious that paying for something with a loan is never a good idea, right?
Yeah. Honestly, it makes no sense, but this is where we are after several years, several different administrations, bringing us to this point where the truth on the table is that we have to borrow. Let's call a spade a spade. We're in a situation now where there's no other place that will be able to raise the amount of revenue required to keep the nation afloat, aside from borrowing. But the point of contention is, what is the nature of the borrowing that we're doing? There's different ways in which nations attract all these various funds and attract revenue into their economies. The nature of these deals is what's concerning. So you look at the $5 billion deal from the First Abu Dhabi Bank, for example. By the way, the First Abu Dhabi Bank they've announced that they'll be opening a branch in Nigeria very soon, and they're also part of those that financed over $1 billion for the Lagos-Calabar coastal highway. So they're now accustomed to being in bed with Nigeria. However, with the nature of the deal, which is structured total return swap, it's not a direct loan. It's a sort of opaque arrangement where there's some sort of shareholding that they will take, which means that in essence, they will be collecting part of the revenue from whatever projects it's tied to. So we need to ask ourselves which specific projects are tied to this loan. And now the interesting thing about this TRS arrangement is that it changes with, so if your asset performs well, the repayment increases. If your asset performs poorly, your repayment decreases. Now, this has created a lot of controversy because people are asking, okay, is this similar to many years ago when we gave up Nigeria's oil? Remember, we forward sold a lot of our oil. So today, when we speak of, let's say, 1.3 million barrels per day, it's argued that about 400,000 of that doesn't even come to us. So is this another arrangement arrangement that's going to put us in a situation where when we do start earning revenue from these infrastructure projects, or when these projects are complete and we're trying to pay it off, have we forward sold another part of our future? Is part of that. And same goes with the $1 billion from the United Kingdom. We're still waiting to hear the intricate details of this financing agreement, but the question is, if it's connected to the port infrastructure, why is it not the project performance that will pay back the loan? So this one is different. It's not like it's a shareholding percentage that you give. Yeah. That one is a straight loan that you'll be paying back. So how are we going to, so if there are issues, because remember, part of that deal means materials are coming. With the UK deal, a portion of that fund of the deal means that we'll be taking material contracts from the UK and so for things that we don't control. Yet, no matter what, it's tied to our sovereign treasury. We have to pay it back. It should be tied to the performance of that asset, and the asset should pay back for its loan, not the overall. So it's all these, finer details for me that are red flags. But do we have to borrow? Unfortunately, the answer is yes.
Okay. So I think the greatest wisdom that this administration should learn is from the myth or the legend of somebody that sold beans for a living in an area called Shakpon in Abeokuta. And the myth goes thus: Shebu Timo Elewa Shakpon. It was said that this person, for those that wanted to buy beans on credit or they wanted to buy more than the leverage they could buy, she would always say, please do according to your capacity. And after many years, because she sold beans in Shakpon, she was called Shebu Timo Elewa Shakpon. That's one thing we do not do in this country. Do we have the capacity? No. We go ahead, we take loans. What is the effect of the loans we take? Last year, the administration said we met most of our revenue targets. One will have thought most of the revenue target will have been plowed back into developing the economy. Most of the capital expenditure last year were not cash backed. So what was the essence of the revenue and the loans taken last year? That's a big question. This year, they've gone one step further to extend the budget. The National Assembly is saying, no, there are shortfalls from last year. The same last year, they told us that we met revenue expectations. Probably after this, maybe when we review the budget next year, the budget performance, we will hear that there are shortfalls and we keep extending that. But in all of this, what did they spend money on? The president quickly came in. The first thing he bought was a jet. They built the vice president's house for 21 billion. So the question is, when we even take the loan, what is the priority? And the loan becomes even very nebulous. So till today, anybody can please show me. I've been asking a question on the terms and agreements of this 1 billion loan by Citibank that is being backed by UKEP. Somebody just show me the terms. I want to see the moratorium. I want to even see the start of the payback period. I also want to see the viability of the Port Authority to be able to pay back this through the revenue they make. I mean, these things should not be too much to ask for.
Absolutely.
Another step further, you see the one we are taking from Qatar. We've taken loans from there. You will have wondered, what are the terms of that one also? How do we repay back? The answer is rolling in the wind.
Absolutely.
And then when you go one step further, this same government said the reason why we pull out subsidy, remember, was because we wanted to get savings and plow into the economy. Till today, we've not seen savings in the economy. And that's why when they said they were going on doing the coastal road, I asked that, why spend 15 trillion on the coastal road when the Minister of Works had said that all the pre-existing roads in this country can be fixed with that same about 15 trillion? So you start to wonder what's going on.
Very good.
All right, I just wanted to clarify the fact that the first Abu Dhabi bank deal is under Islamic banking. So when I say they're opening a branch, I intended to say they're opening an office. So it's not commercial banking. However, because we know that Islamic banking doesn't operate with interest rates. It's on a revenue sharing basis. So that's the point that I'm making, is that ultimately when this starts to roll out, it's on a revenue sharing basis. The question is, what are the assets tied to that revenue that we're going to use to pay back to the first Abu Dhabi bank?
Absolutely. So many questions that still need answers. And Adesu, I know you're there, but I'll come to you on this next set of stories.